Hello and welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by your fastest movie reviewers.
Oh,
that was a fresh one.
That wasn't bad. That was some of you.
Reviewing one of the, I don't know if it's necessarily ours, but probably one of the most anticipated films of the year. None other than DC's The Flash, which has been probably delayed. I think this has been in the making for about 10 years almost. It was supposed to be one of the first films in the DC EU to come out. And I think it was originally like 2013, 14, like supposed to be after Man of Steel. Like been a while, but it is directed by none other than Andy Muschietti, which I may have butchered that, but he's directed everything he's directed previously has basically been horror with Mama, which is a great film, It, and then It Chapter 2. And he picks up this, which obviously the plot's pretty basic for all you who have watched the trailer. Barry Allen, who is the Flash, pretty much tries to go back in time to save his family or his mum. Obviously, his dad's convicted for the murder of that
Change the past
situation. Change the past, which is obviously something that we've not seen before.
Never.
By any means. Never. No, but it is obviously a common plot point in, the Flash TV show, obviously the comic books. But yeah, I mean, without further ado, what did you think of the film? It's probably one of the most talked about. So,
look, I came in with an expectation that this was going to be very similar to other DC films that have been released probably in the last 5 to 7 years.
All the talk early was that it was seriously good.
Yeah,
so,
I think they said Wonder Woman was going to be like one of the best ones ever too. The second one, and that was anyway. Look, I came in this words. This was a good film. I wanted to kind of give it shit, and I expected it to be shit, even though it looked like it was finally going to be something in the right direction. I thought it was going to be shit. And I'll tell you what, it smashed that out of the ballpark. And
so why would you sit there wanting to give it shit?
No. But I mean, like it was just, I knew what I was going to get into. Like Fast and the Furious, right? Weird sidetrack, but Fast and the Furious, you got to watch Fast and the Furious movie. If it's anything that's been released since number 6, you're going in for just an enjoyable time, but it's going to be shit. And it's not going to make sense. It's going to have plot holes. There's going to be a lot of issues. Anyway, you're just going to enjoy the film, but it's going to suck. That's what I expected out of this film. But I'll tell you what, but I actually really, I enjoyed this film a lot more than I thought I would.
In saying that, the last DC film was fantastic in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it was all right.
I thought it was fantastic.
It was all right. Well, I guess that kind of sidetrack wasn't too bad. First Suicide Squad was all right. But yeah.
First Suicide Squad's dog shit. I'm talking about like the James Gunn one with Idris Elba and the massive starfish.
Giant starfish. Look, it was enjoyable again, but I didn't think it was a great film. Anyway, I enjoyed this film. I liked a lot of the direction it went in. There was probably a few too many like people pleaser kind of moments, like weird sidetracked the plot there, but weird people pleaser moments, which I guess there was an opportunity to do it, so they took it. Didn't really take away from the kind of film, but it just was odd. But they did add some people pleasing moments in it. Ezra Miller, I thought acted quite well. Actually, pretty good. In both versions.
I was going to say, considering obviously you've got to play almost the same role but in two different ways.
Yeah,
did really well.
Nearly like they felt like they were the same but two completely different Barry Allens.
One was very ecstatic and happy, and then the other one was very much almost somber.
So it's pretty much us two. You figure out which one's who's who, but it was...
Won't be hard.
I thought was great, and I thought a lot of their casting too overall was good. It was a bit... I felt like I was teeing myself up for a cringeworthy movie at the start because there was just like, here's some like funny moments with some existing characters. I'm like, cool. But look, it moved away from that and it was good. I thought the sound design was actually quite good in this film, and it really complemented it from both its action sequences that were complemented by the score itself. So just even like the subtle stuff, I thought there was really good sound point on all that. There was some really nice scenes in this film, as in like cinematography wise, and also directed. But there was also some really like strange looking scenes. But I think that's kind of what they were going with because of the weird scenario that Barry Allen was going through, but some of that kind of did draw it a little bit away from me. But otherwise, I thought it was pretty good. At times, the CG was fantastic again, similar with some of the previous films, but then at other times it was like absolute dog. And but I kind of felt like it was nearly intentional, like it was just supposed to like draw away from some kind of realism. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty good. Michael Keaton, just the man could talk, and I feel like he just acts well.
It was the biggest phoned-in performance I've
Yeah.
ever seen. Like, I just collected the paycheck. There was nothing.
He didn't
really
do
to
much,
it. Yeah.
but he talked.
Like, not that that's a bad thing. Like, it was just he was there, collected his $5 million paycheck probably, and called it a day.
Yeah. Look, there was a lot of good complimenting cast throughout this film, but the only real standout has got to be Ezra Miller because he contributes to 95% of the entire screen time. So you got to give Ezra Miller the props there on that one. But look, I enjoyed this film a lot more than I thought it would, and I think it's worth a watch. And if this is the expectation that's going to be set for future films, I think we're in for actually a pretty good ride ahead. So I'm excited for that. I'm also excited where it goes for not inherently the rest of the series for Flash, but that universe going forward too. I think there's a lot of change and a lot of exciting things to come from it. But I'll throw it over to you. How did you feel about the film? Because I think it might have been on a similar wavelength. But
Yeah, I had a really good. I really, really enjoyed this. Obviously, there was the talk, and DC showed this like months ago at CinemaCon, and there's been all this talk on online that it's the best superhero film ever. It's this, it's that. It's not. It is a very, very good time. I guess I'll start off with my cons first. I didn't necessarily think there were too many crowd-pleasing moments. Like, it was 2.5 hours. It did start to feel its length a little bit. But there was a certain sequence which I just felt didn't need to be there, was almost a little bit distasteful and really not necessarily cringy, but it was just, to get like a round of applause. And I was just like, it kind of felt a bit odd in the grand scheme of things in comparison to the movie, which that felt, as I said, very fan pleasing. And I thought it was, a bit like, well, that's doesn't sit right with me. But in comparison to the film, which is very heartfelt, family driven, it just didn't feel necessarily like it placed well. And obviously Ezra Miller, as I said, plays two versions of Barry Allen, and I thought he was fantastic. Fantastic in the film, but the CGI at times kind of looked uncanny when they were merging in with obviously you're not going to be able to act twice at the same time. So obviously they've done two scenes and then merged it into one scene, or whether they had a body double. I'm not too sure, but there were times where one Barry was talking and the other one kind of looked a bit odd, like really...
Like deep fake level?
Yeah, like deep fake level. I did notice that a few times, but overall it didn't necessarily take away from the film. It was just something I noticed a few times. But the CGI at times as well, specific moments, when you see the film, you'll probably know it kind of looked extremely fake. And as you kind of said, whether it was potentially intentional due to the situation it's in, which, as I said, you will notice when you see the film, and you'll know probably exactly what I'm talking about. But it didn't take away from the film. It was just kind of like a bit of a why does that look like that kind of thing. But I mean, that's my cons for the film. My pros for the film, far more pros than cons. With the film itself, I thought the cast was really good. First of all, Ezra was fantastic. Sasha Calle as Supergirl was really good. Michael Keaton kind of just collected a paycheck. Obviously, you've got previous cast members as well. I do got to say, Kiersey Clemens, who plays Iris West, I thought she was good in the film for what she had, but for such a vital character to the Flash comics, the Flash universe, kind of was really shunned to the side and underutilized.
Barely even there.
Barely really even in the film. And we're talking about, obviously, a serious love interest and a very pivotal reporter. It's the Lois Lane to the Flash, right? So it's like underutilized, but the score was really epic, and I thought it was seriously good. And even the sound design at certain moments, whether it be when he was running, the action scenes, I thought that was really well done as well. My biggest prop, though, has got to go to the script, on like the screenplay, I thought it really perfected the lightheartedness comedy, which wasn't like really over the top or it wasn't really over the top in terms of the comedy. It was like, it's not Guardians level where they purposely throw in jokes. I felt like it really kind of settled well with the film. It wasn't overly there. It was just kind of like...
There's a lot more down to earth, this film, I thought.
Well, more what I'm
degree.
saying in terms of the comedy is it's not like it didn't feel forced or anything. It just felt very natural in terms of the characters and the progression of the story. And the story really worked for me because at the end of the day, in terms of the action scenes, which I'll get into a little bit in a second, there probably wasn't many in a way. Even though it's a superhero film, the film was very much about family, consequences of your decisions, your choices, and it's a film that everyone can relate to in some sort of way, which is really what makes superhero films successful, out of the fact that obviously you're going to watch a superhero film, right? So it's like the story really worked in that aspect. But I guess my biggest prop has got to go to Andy and his direction in this film. It's unironically probably some of the best action scenes I've seen in a superhero film in quite some time. Like the directing of the scenes were really, really good. Whether it be just the fact that there wasn't many specific cuts, the shot sequences was really nice. It just looked really great. The only thing, I guess, in the last bit of it, which we've all seen in the trailer, they're fighting in some like desolate desert area where it kind of looks a little bit plain, but he still directed the shit out of it. And I got to give him props, considering previously all he's done is horror films. So it's kind of went from It, which is still a big budget movie, or the second one more so, but kind of went from a small horror film in Mama to It Chapter 2 to helming a $200 million superhero film. He did really well. So I got to give him props there. And I thought it perfectly set up the future of DC. Obviously, we're probably going to go through, I guess, a revitalization of cast and things like that. And I thought the ending actually really perfected the fact that you kind of obviously, a soft reboot in a way where whether Ezra's coming back, we're not sure. Obviously, they haven't, I guess, spoken about that. But the soft reboot of the characters, obviously they're going through that, which they were announced. They're making the new Superman film, so there's been things there. So I thought they perfectly set up the soft reboot, and I thought they did that really well. And I can understand why they've utilized this film as, I guess, a restarting point, because nonetheless, it is a really good film.
Yep, agreed.
And I think, from here onwards, I think it's very easy for them to kind of pick up where they've left off and go, this is that.
Kind of exciting.
It is exciting. I know I'm really excited about what the future holds. Obviously, we've got Aquaman still to come out, the second one. I can't remember what else is planned, but obviously they're going through the casting of the Superman film, which James Gunn's directing. But it is exciting because if this is anything to go by, there's serious potential there. I know a lot of people love Zack Snyder and wanted his original vision, but it is what it is. It's happened now, but it is exciting to see where it goes. And I think this is a really good film, and I hope it does well at the box office, which I'm sure it will, and people enjoy it. But other than that, have you really got anything to...
No, I got nothing to top it off. It's just, it just caught me by surprise, genuinely, actually, how much work and love they put into this. And when I meant like down to earth too, it was a lot of, natural progression. It was nothing that was forced. That's kind of what I meant by that too. It was very...
I thought the character,
Yeah, very, very normal, very human, very relatable.
Something that realistically, if anyone was in a situation, you'd probably, if you had the opportunity, you'd probably contemplate doing it.
Oh,
yeah. So, and it worked as well because it was a really emotional start, and
Agreed.
In terms of the way the plot developed, and there were some seriously emotional scenes, which I think always put those kind of superhero films in the upper echelon, rather than having 2 hours of action. You've got your heart, your humor, the action.
Yeah.
What's not to love? It's a few things potentially to fix in the future with. As I said, CGI was a bit off at times.
Agreed.
Utilization of some characters and I guess the crowd-pleasing moments. If you make a good film, I don't think you need to do that. So, which they didn't, but it was there. But other than that, if you have seen the film, let us know what you think. I'm sure you have, or if you if you haven't, let us know what you're looking forward to. Subscribe for more. We'll be reviewing Pixar's Elemental at some point this week.
Oh, dope.
I'm keen for that. But yeah, subscribe for more, comment below, let us know what you think. And without further ado, we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.